Hi, GM.
Hi, Justin.
FPF World. Alex D'Aquila back here.
I have to fix the door.
Full name basis.
Eagle's gonna go fix the door. I think that's the first time I've ever said his name ever. No, it's a lie. Guys, we have a ton of stuff to get to in today's episode, as we're coming up on week 9.
Details.
Playoffs coming up. So, man, I say let's get right into it as we talk first about the recaps for the week that was. Interesting games. The first one here, your game, Royals taking on Red Wave, beating them 19-12. I can't say I'm surprised by the result in terms of you guys winning it, but that scoreline, though, what happened?
To a certain extent, Red Wave played the Royals perfectly. They started as 5, and we're waiting on Andel Gordon, who was late, and Rafi Dotella, who filled in as a sub. But Mario Pareca, just from a game plan point of view, played the Royals perfectly by sort of holding onto the ball as long as possible in the huddle, slowing down the pace of the game, and keeping the Royals' offense off the field. Unfortunately for him, his receivers had a tough time catching the ball. Mario had some great reads, some wide open routes, including an uncovered post for a touchdown that just drop after drop after drop. And I feel like this was the right way to play against the Royals. The Red Wave defense also came up with 3 interceptions on Corey Johnson and really managed to put a standstill on this game. But Mario was unable to punch it in with his receivers.
Yeah, Corey Johnson looking like the Corey Johnson of old, way back with 3 INTs there. On the flip side, Mario Pareca, as you mentioned, 20 of 35, but a ton of drops in there as he only gets 2 TDs. Look, I mean, looking back here at Red Wave's schedule so far and what they've done, I think it's fair to say like this team is, in terms of their abilities, nowhere near what their record shows, right?
Way underperforming as well.
Yeah, and if we're just looking very quickly, look, they lost to Texas Bearmans 32-26, right? That's the score. Impeccable D by 1, 19-20. Friends in Low Places by 1, 20-21. And then, to you guys, it's the same. It's the same thing. It's the one score, right? So it feels like a couple more catches here, a couple missed less tackles here, and it's like we're looking at a 7-1, 6-2 team, whatever the case may be. So I definitely think the Red Wave deserve a bit more credit in terms of, if anything, they shouldn't be taken so lightly, I think, going forward. And, that's even if they make the playoffs.
So long as they make playoffs.
Exactly, which we'll get into in just a bit. And on the flip side now, for you guys, look, first of 5-6 games won all via blowout. This is one of the last 2. I think the last one was also by a score, if I'm not mistaken, versus Smash Bros. Is it a matter of coincidence? What's going on with Royals right now?
Last week when we had this discussion, we were talking about the points against that Royals had been allowing, and I cited the averages of those 3 teams that they were going to be playing, and you said the thing that they did have in common is that they hadn't played Royals yet. Well, I guess the flip side still applies, is that like the quality of opponents at the same time, like we haven't hit as many teams who are struggling in their stride. Like Red Wave were prepared and would have won the game if it weren't for a couple of key plays. So
right.
Quality of teams as well as the season draws to a close and those playoff spots are fewer and far between, as you start to see them fleeting, teams start to step up.
Yeah. No, I mean, listen, I think it's great for Division C, you're right. Not so great for you because obviously games are going to start to get tougher. But obviously I still think you guys are still, the creme de la creme, if you will, of the division. Also, proven to be just that. Show me your TDs. We mentioned it, I think last week, the week before. Their ability to take on the commission, not just take them on here. They win 32-28 in a game that apparently wasn't even as close as that scoreline shows. When I got there to the field, I saw 20-7 on the scoreboard, and I could not believe my eyes. It ended up being 32-28 on essentially like a last-ditch touchdown and 2-point convert that some your TDs just allowed to end the game. A defensive battle to start, and then things got interesting with Sean Avram, the bad Sean Avram, showing up again. Very few times he shows up in a season, but in this one, apparently a couple really ill-advised interceptions ending up costing it for him for his side. One of of them, in fact, apparently coming on. Apparently, he went for the hard count, and Marc-Antoine Vallée jumped off sides, then didn't rush, and Avram still threw a pick with no rush. So that's not exactly how you want to be winning games. But then again, look, it feels like Avram has one of these just unmemorable games, if you will, once or twice a season.
So thankfully for him, this may have been it.
That's it exactly. Show me your TDs or for a second though. Eric Quentin, who is the person giving me the information, shout out to Eric for that. He had a question for us. He was wondering what we thought of Show me your TD's chances at getting the second seed. I don't know if Ego can bring up the
remaining opponents.
Well, the remaining opponents are the standings real quick. I think that they're behind. I'm going to bring it up here for us. They're behind Backyard Bullies and obviously the Commission. I think that they have their last two games. Is it Friends in Low Places? And I'm going to bring it up right here. Show me your TDs.
So we're discussing, though, in the meantime, while that comes up, the viability of TDs making
of them, yes, essentially jumping Backyard Bullies.
They have Red Wave next week.
Okay, and then
hold on, and after that they have Jagerbomb.
And then on the flip side for Backyard Bullies, it is
Royals.
Oh well, you would know that.
Yeah,
Royals, and then they got where are we?
Junkyard Dogs.
So Royals and Junkyard Dogs. I mean, to be honest, it's doable. Do I think it's actually going to happen though? Look, if I'm being honest, I think that that Royals Backyard Bullies, that's essentially a coin flip. So I definitely see Backyard Bullies. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if they lost that. Junkyard Dogs would be a bit more of a surprise. It kind of depends on how Junkyard Dogs themselves show up, right? They're kind of inconsistent. And on the flip side, for Show Me Your TDs, Red Wave, I think, is a tough game for them. And Jagerbomb, having just played them, maybe it was just one game, I think that's definitely a winnable game for them. All to say, I think it's doable. Do I actually think it's going to happen, though? I'm not so sure. What do you think?
I think it's going to be status quo. Commission 1, Backyard Bullies 2, Show Me Your TDs 3. But I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing. I'm not like... It's likely that I will have one because of the Royals schedule, the record, but I'm not a fan of bye weeks.
Right. That's true.
With the 1 and 2 seeds having bye weeks, I find that's disastrous far more than it helps. Oftentimes, the 1 seeds and the 2 seeds, when they come back, they get knocked out because they're out of practice for a week. The other team has already gone through adversity in beating the first round opponent and are hungry to do it again. It's difficult to relax and then get back into it.
Yeah, no, that's a fair point. I mean, if I'm being honest, with the way the Show Me Your TDs are going, I would almost prefer to get the 3 seed and just keep playing because you don't want to lose any of that momentum they got going on. So thanks, Eric, for the question. As we'll move right along then to the next game here, teams who don't look so good, despite, I mean, granted, Smash Bros getting the win here, 24-22, but it just was not a good game from what I understand. Friends in Low Places kind of in control most of the game and just failing to kind of punch the ball in key moments. On the flip side, Smash Bros having multiple chances to just end the game, put the game out of reach, and themselves not being able to do it. So just kind of a sloppy, just not a very reassuring game, if you will, on either side. Smash Bros, you had them as your dark horse team, I think, was it last week or a couple weeks ago. Are they still that dark horse team to you? Does the lack of their offensive prowess worry you at all?
Well, I did discuss that a true dark horse team either has a losing record or 500 approaching it, and they win out those close games and just sort of barely make it in by the skin of their teeth. And I think that Smash Bros are continuing along that path. I think they're still a true dark horse, and that we don't see them as necessarily a front runner against every matchup, but they have the ability to overcome. Whereas like Show Me Your TDs went from week after week from, oh, they look like they're getting really good, oh, they're really good, and our opinion of Show Me Your TDs continues to improve to the point where they're not a dark horse anymore.
Yeah, no, I think that's a fair point. And on the flip side here, Friends in Low Places, it's just not looking good offensively. I thought it was interesting. I saw Kevin Smuda show up to a game, I think it was for Coyotes over the weekend, not showing up for this one. Maybe it was work related, I don't know what it is. He was, as we know, originally supposed to be on this team, or he was on the roster entering the season. This late with kind of the playoffs still not a guarantee yet, do you try to bring in Kevin Smuda here?
Truth be told, the fact that he's not going to be able to be eligible for playoffs, No, at that point, I would reevaluate. Are you on the Friends in Low Places played?
Yeah.
How many games played does Alex Hollowak need to be to qualify?
Alex Hollowak needs just one more. He's got 4 games played so far.
That's who I would focus on. I would at this point, like it's absolutely appreciated, and I know that Smuda was part of the finals run for Friends in Low Places and that eventual championship. But because he's not able to make playoffs in this instance, I would focus my efforts on making sure that Alex Hollowak, who is a leader, who is a higher cap player who's been contributing for them on both sides of the ball, I would make him playoff eligible at this point.
Okay, that's a fair point. Although if we're just keeping it real, actually, damn, Kevin Sutter, man, 80.9 offensive rating, 79.4 defensive rating. Hollowak, 72.1 defensive, 74.2 offensive. Granted, that's as a receiver and a DB. I think that's a fair. You should definitely bring in Hollowak. He's, as you mentioned, I mean, he's been around the block a little bit. He can make that tough catch for you.
A valuable play call insight as well.
Yeah, definitely. Listen, we'll get into Friends in Low Places' actual chances of making the playoffs in a bit as we move right along to
Eagle Thinks.
You do think.
No, sorry.
Eagle Thinks this week topic is teams on the bubble. As we get right into the question, of course, Eagle thinks the concept is simple. Jim and I kind of bet, if you will, on what Eagle thinks the answer to a question is. Doesn't matter what the actual answer is, only what Eagle's answer is to the question, and we will, of course, reveal the answer to said question afterwards. Eagle, in Division C, since spring 2009.
Wow, okay.
So, again, we touched upon this on week 5 or week 6, but again, since then, there have been 8 finals.
Yeah, 8 finals.
So 16 finals.
Exactly. So the question is, how many times have teams ranked in the bottom half of playoff seedings, right? So if it's 6 seeds per conference, so how many times then for those would be 4, 5, and 6?
If it was 8.
In the bottom 50%.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. How many times have those seeds, one of those seeds, made the finals? How many teams in the bottom half?
Out of 16.
Out of 16 total, right? The bottom half of the playoff eligible teams, or playoff teams period, made the finals, do you think? Eagle here is going to take a second.
Jesus, this is a hard number because
of course it is. Yeah. That's the point. We're giving you too many softballs since last year. We're going hard today.
Made the finals.
Made the finals. They have to win it. Just made the finals.
Wow. In 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Wow, that's a lot of seasons too.
It's a couple seasons still.
All right.
Just Division C.
Yeah, it's just in C. That's all we're looking at right now.
8 seasons.
Damn, Eagle's still thinking here and calculating. He's got the.
Okay, I got a number.
He's got a number. Okay, so once again, we're looking at how many times teams ranked in the bottom half of playoff seedings have made the finals in Division C since spring 2009. I think you can just throw it out. What do you got? What do you think Eagles got?
Well, every time I go first, I tend to win it. So you sure you want me to do that?
Yeah, let's go for it.
Okay, give me 3 or more.
Yeah, that's it. I think I was gonna say 2, to be honest with you. I got 2. 3 and up is Jim. Eagle, what do you think it is?
I got 5.
Wow, what is going on? It's a conspiracy. GM, you want to go ahead and let us know how many times that actually happened since spring 2009?
Once.
Only once.
However, it was the 6th seed out of 6, Briscoe Highhawks, who were the eventual Division C champion, at the 50% mark. So the 3 seed out of 6.
Yeah.
This happened far more frequently at 5 times, and there are far more 2 seed championship winners than 1 seeds. There were very few 1 seed winners in the finals.
Yeah, so
oopsie.
Pretty surprising, I'd say, Eagle.
I honestly thought it would be a little bit more than that. I figured
if I'm being honest with you, I mean, I think that, it feels like there's always one Cinderella story, right? But in Division C anyway, that's what it is. It'd be interesting to look at what it is for the other divisions, but we're keeping in C. So essentially what we're looking at, right, is a playoff race coming up here. The last couple of teams who haven't yet really clinched a playoff spot, looking to get those final ones. Conference A, I guess we'll kind of do this 2-parter real quick. So first off, of the teams listed here, I'll name them. Which teams do you think look the strongest to get the last 2 seeds up for grabs in Conference A?
And Alex, as we discuss each individual team, if you could bring up their remaining schedule as well.
And then how do you see things actually going down? So what we got here for Conference A, right, in the from seeds 5 to 8. because I don't think Going Deep are still playoff eligible. We got Jaeger Bomb, No Name, Blue Chips, and Home for the Hollandaise. What do you got? What are you thinking?
Of making playoffs of these two?
Well, which ones do you think, I guess, deserve, if you will, in terms of their skill set, in terms of the strongest teams out of the group? Which two of them?
Oh, which two are the strongest teams in my opinion?
Yeah.
Jaeger Bomb and Blue Chips.
Okay, that's interesting. All right. Is there any particular reason why you're hating on the other ones, or?
You asked me who I thought was the strongest.
Okay.
I didn't say I was hating on the others.
Okay.
Just because you just finally decided to win games doesn't mean that you deserve to make playoffs.
That's fair enough. Now, I don't necessarily disagree. And look, we can go down it very quickly, right? But for Jaeger Bomb, if Hugo wants to bring it up, they got Bearskins and Show Me Your TDs next.
Difficult games to end the season.
So listen, for them it's pretty simple, right? I mean, one win and they've clinched whatever seed it is. They've clinched at least that fifth seed. And for No Name next,
at least that sixth seed. So.
Yeah, you're right. At least the sixth seed. Yeah. Smash Bros and the Commission for No Name, which also isn't necessarily an easy one. And then Home for the Hollandaise, Texas Bearmans, and Going Deep, so a bit easier, but obviously, on the outside looking in right now. And Blue Chips last, Nuggets and Smash Bros, they're 2-6. I think they're honestly the toughest one out of the bunch. They essentially need to go 4-6 and have everybody else go 3-7. Obviously, all this is unofficial because I calculated it myself. So that's a
disclaimer
to certain individuals. So that seemed like a really tough one for me. Anyway, listen, how do you see things playing out?
Unfortunately, based on strength of schedule, I think that Home for the Hollandaise may sneak in.
That's definitely, fortunately, you misspoke there.
Right,
fortunately,
right. And I think that at this point,
I mean,
because the Jaeger clinch is contingent upon a Blue Chips loss and a Home for the Hollandaise loss.
Right. Don't forget that if ever they finish tied, that's when the division record comes into play. And even if Blue Chips win their last two, they're 2-6 starting the division record. So that's why I'm saying for them, it's really tough.
I think it's Home for the Hollandaise and Jaeger Bomb at this point. No Name have the potential for the upset, and with those two games, if they upset, they'll get a very, very favorable playoff seeding. It's just going to be it's an uphill battle at this point.
Yeah, no, I think that's fair to say. For Home, from what I saw, it's essentially we go 4-6, and we need No Name to lose out. Or on the flip side, which is getting wild here, Home for the Hollandaise go 4-6, No Name finish 4-5-1 or better. Blue Chips, it doesn't necessarily matter. And then you don't want to have Jaeger Bomb in at 4-6 because then the head-to-head would come into play, and we have the head-to-head over Jaeger Bomb, which we don't have over No Name. So there's still a bunch of scenarios out here, but I do think that look, if I'm being as objective as possible here, in terms of the strongest, you mentioned that you didn't think that we were that strong, but we did get that W over Blue Chips, the W over Jaeger Bomb, and No Name. Well, we'll blame Simon Dagener for being Simon Dagener for that one. But yeah, I think.
Anyone know if he's subbing for the girls' co-ed team tonight?
Terrible. No, probably not. Probably not, Eagle. Simon's a man's man. Yeah, I think it's tough for Jaeger Bomb still. Bearskins from your TDs will not be easy games, but for No Name, just can't really trust them after that 1-point win over Going Deep. So look, that's a brief look at Conference A. Obviously, next week when things clear up, we'll get really able to go down in detail in terms of the playoff spots still open. And for Conference B here, the teams we're looking at are Friends in Low Places, Red Wave, Nuggets, Texas Bearmans, and MVE was still an outside shot to get in. I didn't put Smash Bros in there because at 4-4, I think that even if they finish 4-6, with a division record, whatever it is, they will still make it. They're virtually guaranteed to get in. Look, Friends in Low Places are in the driver's seat right now, but they still got the Commission and Bearskins left to play. And Red Wave still have Show Me Your TDs and Nuggets. Nuggets still have Blue Chips and Red Wave. Texas Bearmen still have Home for the Hollandaise and you guys. And then MVE with Going Deep and Impeccable D. From what I see here, with the last week being the divisional games for sub-divisional games for all these teams, those really may be like the clincher, the most important one. You're looking at, for example, Friends in Low Places, regardless of what happens with the Commission, essentially, as long as they beat Bearskins, they're pretty much a shoo-in to get in, depending on how the rest of things play out.
Of those 2 games, I felt that we can revisit it in 2 weeks, but I felt that was the one that has most potential to be an upset of the
Bearskins one?
The Bearskins Friends in Low Places game, yes.
Okay, all right, that's interesting. We'll let you dive into the details next week when we'll look at that one. Look, for Red Wave and Nuggets, if I'm being honest, I think this is it. I think it's a game between them, because essentially whoever wins that Week 10 game between these 2 teams
will probably get that 6th spot.
They're essentially getting in at least the 6th seed. What are your thoughts on MVE and Texas Bearman's chances?
I think that there's too many instances that, like, there's too many this has to happen and this has to happen and this has to happen that has to be satisfied for MVE to make playoffs. Unfortunately, that ship seems to have sailed.
Yeah, MVE essentially has to win out because of their poor divisional record, and then they have to basically look for everybody else to finish 3-7. Very unlikely, given that, well, obviously one of those teams is going to finish at least 4-6, right, between Nuggets and Red Wave. For Texas Bearmans, at least home field advantage is looking like a very winnable game for them. Can't say the same for Royals, obviously. And as for Texas Bearmans themselves, speaking of which, what do you think about them getting in?
Right now at this point, it's going to be those teams that are a little bit closer to the top. Winning out for the Texas Bearmans team, we were very high on them as the season started and sort of started to lose more and more faith. And having them come up with 2 consecutive wins is difficult.
Yeah, look, they still have a chance even at 3-7, but kind of like MVE, they'd also still need everybody else to kind of finish 3-7, regardless of whoever wins between Nuggets and Red Wave. I think that's tough. I think it's tough to have to expect them to win those 2 last games, because I really do think that 4-6 kind of is the key, the key bare minimum here to get in. And then that's it. I think, look, right now as it stands, I think Red Wave get in just with a Week 10 win over Nuggets. A bit too inconsistent for my taste to pick Nuggets in that game. Red Wave clearly on the up and up. And Friends in Low Places, I don't know, man. Look, the commission, that's not going to be an easy one. Bearskins, you're going for the upset here. I think that's still going to be a tough one.
Yeah, it still will absolutely be an uphill battle.
It's doable, but I don't know. I think that look, we'd have to look to see a bit more in detail, but I'm gonna have to give it to Red Wave, and I guess we'll also stick with Friends in Low Places, just because I have a tough time seeing both MVE and Texas Bearmans getting in. Any other quick thoughts you want to add about the playoff race right now?
No.
All right, GM's in the driver's seat, kicking back.
Yeah,
I'm good.
Autopilot at this moment. I think that right now it's too much to process all at once without getting into those
definitely. But I mean, look.
Kudos to Alex for calculating all those, though. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
I did no work whatsoever.
I do think that very quickly, it is obviously a good thing to have those subdivision games at the very end. One of those at least is essentially winning your in game, so that makes things a lot more exciting down the stretch. That will pretty much do it for Eagle Thinks as we move into the previews this week. The marquee matchup of the week, Backyard Bullies taking on Royals. I think it could very well be a conference finals preview. Eagle would probably agree. But before we get into the pick here, interesting, because you would probably assume that you have a good chance of seeing that team again. Do you, in the situation, go all out, go for the win, regardless of what they see? Do you go for that 10-0? Do you go for keeping the momentum, or do you kind of keep a few of those gadget plays, a few of those good plays in your back pocket?
I'm a fan of neither of those. I could care less about going 10-0 if you don't win the championship. But on the flip side, sort of either throwing a game or not revealing your whole hand in that matchup oftentimes comes back to bite you in the ass later on. So I'm not a fan of either of those scenarios. I think at this point it's just going to have to be just go out and play your game and hope that we learn more from the matchup than they do. Okay,
that's a fair point. So for the pick, Eagle, what do you got between Backyard Bullies and Royals? Should be noted that Backyard Bullies right now losers of 2 straight, and Royals not looking too hot either.
I got Bullies on the bounce back.
Just like that.
Royals are scraping by the last couple games, and they're going to get caught.
Well, Backyard Bullies lost the last few games, so
that's why they're going to be up.
Okay, all right.
You don't learn anything from winning.
Matt, look, it's tough. I think these are obviously 2 of the better teams in all Division C. I like Zachary Alberts-Gill. to not do anything in this game. I just want to give Zach a shout out, to be honest with you.
Okay.
it's the weekly Zach Aberskill shout out.
It's customary at this point.
No, for sure. No, to be honest, look, I think backyard bullies, it depends who shows up, right? I mean, is Steve Sander still going to show up? I mean, they have that injury to deal with, for one thing. If they get their full team, if Steve is there, I do like backyard bullies' chances. Otherwise, I think Royals is just a bit too much to handle, to be honest with you. But screw it, I don't like you, so backyard bullies is the pick. Next, Blue Chips versus Nuggets. What do you got?
So I discussed the importance of a rusher containing Jordan Mitchell throughout the season. I also talked about when we played the Nuggets, Fred Millet's rushing on Corey Johnson and how that impressed me and how good a rusher he was. However, I don't think that this is one of those instances where he will be able to contain Jordan. Like he excels at cutting off the passing lane, at tipping passes, or just like sort of narrowing the QB's vision and making them hold the ball for the extra second and getting the sack. None of these really apply.
None of that applies to Jordan Mitchell.
Jordan's going to roll out. He's going to look to throw deep, but still have the option to run. And I think that there's a lack of discipline when that's going to happen with the Nuggets, and I think that they're just going to fall apart in this instance. The Blue Chips play a strong defense as well. So should they play ball control offense and have Jordan run whenever possible, the Nuggets offense may get fed up and try and score deep, and that's when Blue Chips will excel and pull away in this game.
All right, those are all very interesting points. Look, for me, it's pretty simple. Nuggets have been terrible on offense the last couple of weeks. They scored 12 points in 3 of the last 5 games and 3 or fewer TDs in general in 4 of the last 5 games. As much as Blue Chips have been, how can I say this, disappointing and not really kind of fulfilling expectations the last
or just
good couple of weeks.
To adapt.
Yeah, no, I mean, listen, we'll say that. But I still have to go Blue Chips here. The Nuggets offense just hasn't really shown that they can, kind of do enough damage in these last couple of weeks. Whereas Blue Chips, the talent is there. And once they get that good matchup, as you mentioned, in terms of quarterback and rusher, it's generally game over for them. I'm going to go Blue Chips in this one. As we move along to the last one here, Going Deep versus MVE. Going Deep's playoff chances are essentially slim to none at this point. Do they have it in them to do the same to MVE's own playoff chances in this game?
They definitely do have it in them. There's enough talent here that, interesting to say, but Going Deep I find are at times more consistent than MVE. MVE definitely have the higher ceiling for what they can do and the output on offense and defense. But at this point, Going Deep have been a little bit more reliable. It's strange to say.
So you think we're going old reliable in this one?
Yeah,
going deep.
Going deep.
Okay.
I also found I played against MVE and I've watched games recently, and I feel like when they lose, it's the end of the world and it's a big debacle and everyone's yelling and screaming. And on the flip side, when they win, they're also just at times very poor winners about it. So it's hard to sort of side with that when you see it on both sides of the coin, because it's a consistent issue whether it's a win or a loss. So at this point, like, I'd also be happier to see Going Deep win.
Yeah, look, I'm not going to disagree there on that point.
And we can double that as my weekly shout out.
All right, hey, there you go. Nice. Look, for me, I think that while I agree with you on that point in terms of obviously wanting to see teams, win with a certain attitude and also accept defeat with a certain attitude, I think that MVE, if this game gets even close to a shootout, and MV have shown the ability to score a lot of points, though inconsistently. They've shown that they can do that. If it gets to that point, I don't think that Going Deep can keep up. Going Deep are really more of kind of a low scoring game. That's the kind of games that they can win. That's what it was versus No Name last week before things kind of fell apart for them.
I guess in that instance, it becomes about Pat Riot sort of playing ball control offense, and holding on to the ball in the huddle as long as possible.
Definitely. Look, if he goes no INTs in this when he plays a very smart game, I do like their chances. I don't see that happening, so I got to go with MV. I think that MV can put up a decent amount of points and just get this W.
Eagle nods silently in the distance.
Eagle nods sadly. Eagle nods sadly.
Seagull.
That'll do it for us for this week. A quicker show, a regular length show. It's just the other ones that were kind of longer. We apologize, but we don't really, because
we don't find ourselves going over into the 42-minute range.
No, yeah, exactly, yeah.
That was oddly specific.
Speaking of which, What's coming up next, Justin?
I don't know. What is
we
coming
have
up
Peas
next?
coming on, so
That's true.
Peas will be in for MoCon as well on the Div D podcast with Alex Hulwak, who should be set to join us
and
shortly.
Peas is actually here on time today. I see his legs underneath his garage thing. GM, your final thoughts. You mentioned them earlier. For me, look, the real Zachary Albert skill shout out. Man, he gets a lot of talk right as a rush. We talk about him as a rush all the time. I saw him playing Division D2. I swear to God.
As a snap, no less.
This dude can ball. GM, they went up against Buffalo Wild Wings, man, and they brought in JD Chevalier, and Zach went down the seam, caught the ball over JD Chevalier. So he ran past JD into the end zone for 40 bomb. Dude is insane. Pick this guy up now. Put him on your offense. He'll make plays for you, flat out. I want him on my team, man. I'm telling you, he's just sick. And the last one, very quickly, is I learned that no color is safe from the pennies. In the same week, I had to wear my Supply and Command jersey with a penny on it because we played Zoo. And then I saw two teams wearing teal. One of them had to wear a penny. It's insane. Like, is there
teal with the blue, right?
Yeah, it's a shade
Blue
of blue.
green.
But
can you go with like male colors? None of this lavender or fuchsia or mahogany.
But I mean, how many fuchsia? Well, no, there are a couple of teams that weren't. You want to talk? Hot Boys Hotline.
We're pink.
Oh my God! All right, we'll end it on that note, guys. Thanks for tuning in. We will catch you guys next week.
Fuchsia.